Good afternoon, everyone. As you are coming into the webinar today for Inclusion Initiatives, it's hosted by Drexel University Kline School of Law. My name is Danielle Boardley, and I serve as the Assistant Dean for Diversity, Inclusion, and Student Life here at Drexel's Law School. And I'm joined today by our fantastic dive-in, and you'll learn a little bit more about what that means, fellows. These are current students who are a part of our Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So just to get us started, I wanted to give a sense of what this webinar will look like for today. So here's our roadmap. I'm going to give an overview of what Dive-In is, and that is shorthand for diversity and inclusion. And it's our efforts and initiatives within the Drexel Kline community, as well as programming. And there's lots of things that we do as it relates to the initiatives around inclusion, and Dive-In is kind of the brand for all those things. Then I will open it up to our current students and allow them to introduce themselves. And then we'll go through some questions that we have prepared for them. And at the very end, right before we wrap up, we'll open it up to you if you have questions. So if you're thinking about what you might want to know from any of us on the call, and included in this call are members from our admissions team. So we also have them ready to answer any questions you might have. Feel free to throw those in the chat at the end, and we'll make sure we get those answers to you. So the objective of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee Dive-In is to make sure we increase our community dialogue so that we can be better prepared individually and as a community to address diversity and inclusion related concerns. And our committee, as you can see, is made up of students, current students and alumni, and faculty and staff. This year we have about 23 members on the Dive-In committee, and we are all focused on making sure that we present ourselves individually and as a community as a resource to our community members as it relates to inclusion efforts. Our mission is to foster a culture where all community members feel supported, and diversity, equity, and inclusion are ingrained into everything we do. We're committed to creating opportunities for open dialogue, positive conversations, and collaboration between community members at every level. We have a number of programs that take place throughout the academic year, and we'll hear a little bit about those as we move forward with the questions from our students that I'm presenting to our students. And you'll get a sense of what it's like to be a part of those programs and initiatives through the student experience. And with all that we put into the efforts and the work that we do, we want to establish a sense of belonging for everyone, and having a connection to an organization or a group of people that makes you feel you can be yourself results in greater engagement. So it's a psychological need, actually, to be able to connect on a level with individuals and feel seen and heard. We understand that empathic leadership is key. For real change to happen, every individual leader needs to buy into the value of belonging, both intellectually and emotionally, so we can create a community that thrives on it. And a top-down approach isn't enough. They drive compliance, but not commitment. So from senior leaders to staff and students, every individual must see and understand their role in the Drexel Kline culture. This means that identifying differences in experience and values so that, change can be made relevant for each person, and knowing that lasting change must activate different parts of the system. So top down, bottom up, middle out, in every way, we need to be committed to empathic leadership and, all of us having a hands-on approach to inclusion. And because of that, inclusion is ongoing. Like any form of behavior change, inclusion requires individuals to identify key moments to build new habits. And when These habits are put into action, an environment that supports honest conversations and healthy tension, real change becomes possible. It can be uncomfortable. And what I always say is that there is magic in our discomfort. We just have to stretch ourselves a bit to be able to get to the point where we're all feeling seen and heard. But with these points in mind, I hope you have a better understanding of the ways in which our efforts contribute to the facilitation of the progression of supporting inclusion within our community. So now we're going to move on to our students, our current students who are on the Diamond Committee. I'm just going to ask them to introduce themselves by name, the area of law that they're interested in, and a brief reason of why they chose Drexel. So we're going to start with Gabby, and you'll see the QR code below the names. If you're interested in connecting with any of our students, feel free to scan that QR code if you have your phone with you, and it'll connect you to their LinkedIn profile. So Gabby, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabby. I'm a 3L. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And the areas of law that I'm interested in are criminal law, immigration law, and intellectual property. And the reasons why I chose Drexel, when I was applying to law school, there were three things that I valued or that I wanted to consider when I was making my decision. The first was financial aid, because law school is very expensive. The second was diversity. I wanted to make sure that I was choosing a school that really encompassed and cultivated a community where I felt supported, and there were people from different backgrounds, different types of lived experiences as well. And then the third one was the experiential learning component. I worked before law school, and I really wanted to go somewhere that really focused heavily on making sure that students gained a lot of practical skills and like training while in law school.
Thank you, Gabby. Olalade.
Hello, my name is Olade. Pronouns are he, him, his. I went to Drexel for the community. I went to Drexel for undergrad as well. And the undergrad and law school is sort of separated in terms of way they think, but it was really coming into the law school and everyone being open to speak to me, talk to me, current students helping each other out, really sort of gave me the idea of a place I would like to see myself in the next 3 years.
And did you share the area of law you're interested in?
Sorry. Yeah, my area of law is IP, intellectual property, but more specifically in patent litigation and patent prosecution.
Thank you. Jada.
Hi, y'all. My name is Jada Etam. I'm a 3L. My pronouns are she, her, hers. The areas of law I'm interested in are regulatory law, compliance, and kind of IP, but we'll see. And the reason why I chose Drexel is I think because first I really wanted a diverse environment. I wanted a lot of people from different backgrounds. And I also really valued like not only what people look like, but just the environment of the campus. And like Olade was saying, a lot of the alum, even past professors, speak very highly of Drexel and the environment where everyone is really helpful and is kind of encouraging your growth.
Thank you, Jada. Kelvin.
Hello, good morning. I'm Kelvin Ayora. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm interested most in immigration law and labor law. And I chose to go to Drexel because I was living in Philadelphia for a few years, working a different job, and I knew that I wanted to go to law school, but I wanted to do it a little bit quicker. And fortunately, Drexel has a 2-year program that lets me complete all the requirements of the JD in 2 years. So that was the main reason. But I also know Drexel as a newer school, they really prioritize, modern kind of not stuck in traditional past ways of thinking. And that's something that really stood out to me.
Thank you, Susan. Liv.
Hi everyone, my name is Olivia and I go by Liv also. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm interested in transactional law, particularly public finance and mergers and acquisitions. I chose Drexel because I wanted to build my career in Philadelphia. I went to Villanova, so I'm familiar with the area. And I wanted to be at a law school where there was an existing DE&I community and not just like an afterthought. The DE&I initiative is like a pillar of Drexel's law school. It wasn't implemented 1 or 2 or 3 years ago. It's really from the foundation, and I wanted to have the opportunity to build community in this space.
Thank you. Matt Thomas isn't on the call today, but I did want you all to see his smiling face. And if you're interested in connecting with Matt, feel free to scan the QR code. I'm going to move on to Cody.
Hi, my name is Cody and I use she, her pronouns. I'm most interested in transactional work, specifically real estate. But I chose Drexel because one, I'm from Philadelphia and I wanted to stay here. But also a lot had to do with meeting Dean Boardley. When I was looking at a lot of different law schools, everyone kind of seemed the same. There's a lot of the same that was happening. And then I was suggested that I speak with Dean Boardley, and she didn't feel the same. And I think that what a lot of that had to do with was, like everyone else has mentioned, is that Drexel truly is committed to DE&I. It's not just something that they say, and they don't take a picture of each minority group and slap you on the website. So I think that it really shows, and now being here as a 2L, I think that it was definitely not just marketing, it really is the environment that Drexel has.
Thank you all for that. I'm going to stop sharing the presentation so that we can get a little bit more into, excuse me one second. I can figure this out. There we go. Okay. So that we can get a little bit more into some questions we have prepared for today. But again, if you have questions you'd like us to answer after we go through the questions that we have prepared, please throw them in the chat and we'll get our answers to you. So I want to open this first question up to any of our current students and ask of which student organizations you represent and what's something that your student org has accomplished or plans to achieve this academic year that you're really excited about.
So I'm the president of Immigration Law Society, and the thing that we do every year is we send people for spring break to El Paso to do a pro bono project with Las Americas Immigration Advocacy Center, which is a nonprofit dedicated to helping immigrants in asylum and refugee cases. We spent the week there, 6 of us, and that's a yearly trip. We're still in the process of deciding who goes this year and figuring out logistics, but it's a really great way of earning a bunch of pro bono hours, getting to help out. And if you're into immigration, you get to be out and helping people directly. Other than that, I'm also the pro bono coordinator for Outlaw, which is like our LGBTQ student group. And last Friday, we put together a name change clinic where we helped people who were looking to get name changes legally. We helped get them started on that legal process. So I'm very proud of both of those organizations and love doing pro bono stuff. So there's plenty of opportunities to do that.
And I am the social chair for BOLSA, which is the Black Law Student Association. I think one thing that I'm really proud of is just seeing how our community continues to grow and seeing more and more faces every single year. But one thing that we are really excited about this year is doing a lot of programming to help the Black students transition into law school, because that can be a challenging thing for anyone, but traditionally minorities have a little bit more of a challenge with making that transition into a PWI. So we're really excited to be offering programming to try to ease that transition a little bit and set everyone up for success.
So I said my name already, but I'm Gabby again. and I'm the current president of the Latin American Law Student Association. And something that I'm really proud of, I've been involved with our LALSA since my 1L year, and my 1L class, we kind of came in, right, we still came in wearing masks that fall semester. So I think the whole school in itself and a lot of the student organizations were really just trying to pick things up again since COVID. And something that I'm really proud of that we've been able to do is establish a pretty well relationship with the Hispanic Bar Association of Pennsylvania. And we've gotten really close with like that e-board, and yeah, I think so. The Hispanic Bar Association is a bar association, which is just like an organization of all the Hispanic lawyers in Pennsylvania. And so having that relationship and having their support is very helpful, especially when a lot of our students are applying to different employers in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania generally. So it's been, I think, really nice just to have that support and that relationship throughout law school.
So I kind of want to tap into something that Cody mentioned, but go to Jada and ask about your transition from an HBCU to a PWI, which for those, and I'm just clarifying, PWI is a predominantly white institution.
Yeah, it was definitely a transition. I think not only that, but also like transitioning to law school. But again, and one of the best things about Drexel is I quickly found a lot of diverse friends and a diverse friend group. And that helped the transition kind of smooth a little bit because we could laugh about not school stuff, but also support each other with school. And I think that's why I was so excited to be a part of the dive-in committee, was because it's a great initiative. And I think it's really important to encourage diversity just institutionally. But more specifically, kind of about my transition, yeah, so I made a great friend group. And I also had Dean Boardley to complain to and to cry to. But also my first semester, I think it was the first time I hung out with Bolsa, the Bolsa e-board from 2 years ago. And they really picked me up under their arm as well. And they were super helpful. So it was a transition, but in the end, I had a lot of support. So it wasn't super bad.
So Cody, thinking about the support that you've kind of tapped into, what does that look like for you, or how useful have they been inside and outside of the classroom?
Yeah, I think kind of going to what Jada said as well, having a strong support system of friends in law school is probably the most valuable thing that you can build for yourself, because law school can be a little bit isolating. You're not in law school, friends don't really understand what you're talking about, and it can be a really overwhelming experience at times. So having people who can ground you and support you and recognize how you're feeling is really, really important. I think in the classroom, also having professors that I feel like are generally open to feedback and are open to growing is really, really nice, because even if someone does something that's insensitive, I feel like Drexel is a community where you can bring it up to Dean Boardley if you're not comfortable talking to your professor, and she'll have that uncomfortable conversation for you. But generally, I think that the professors are very open to that feedback and they want to grow. So I think having that openness is really important. So I think in the classroom, those resources have been really great. And then outside of the classroom, our career services office, I think, is amazing. There are people that there's enough variety of personality types in our career services office that you can find the person that you fit in with and just latch on there. But they're all very, very supportive, and they want to make sure that all of the students are getting the jobs that they want to get. And for diverse students, there's some things that are a little bit different timeline wise, and so they really help us to navigate that process. And I think that overall Drexel generally does a good job of being mindful of the things that are different and helping to accommodate them.
Now, you talked about career strategies and timelines, and I want to ask Liv, can you tell us a little bit about PDLG, what that stands for and what that means, and maybe what people might be able to do to get familiar with that now?
Sure. PDLG is the acronym for the Philadelphia Diversity Law Group's Fellows Program. and it provides 1Ls with an opportunity to have paid summer employment with Philadelphia area law firms and in-house legal departments. Being a PDLG fellow for me has opened up a lot of doors. I've met my two main legal mentors, and I was offered more like interview opportunities based on being a PDLG fellow. After 1L fall, you basically submit an application and complete an interview process to hopefully get matched at one of the participating organizations. But the best way to get familiar are to just visit the PDLG website, which is pdlg.net, pretty easy, and to talk to PDLG fellow alums. Like Cody and I are both fellows, and I know that we would both love to speak to anyone about our experiences. We had very unique experiences, and that's true for most of the people who participate in the program. But generally, I think that Drexel students are wanting to be helpful and supportive to one another. Also, like next Friday, for example, there's going to be a PDLG info session on campus. So there's an outreach component as well, career services. And I have made it a personal mission to try to get every person who may be eligible for this program to apply, because it really is game changing to have law firm or in-house experience and to actually make money during the summer.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Kelvin, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about like some of the initiatives that we've worked with the Student Bar Association. And one of those is ARC, the Anti-Racism Conversations. Can you tell us a little bit about its benefits for you personally and what you think its impact has been on the community?
Sure. So a little bit of full disclosure, there's a gallery in the school on the third floor that has a nice outdoor view, and I kind of sit there all the time anyway. So although I wasn't intending to be at those meetings initially, when I found out what was happening and I got to see what it was about, it was really great. I think something that happens a lot in law school is everybody gets tunnel vision on the schoolwork and all the stuff they have to do, and then you kind of lose that component of getting to know your classmates and try to get their perspective on things. And what the ARC session does is it really gives the whole school an opportunity to sit down with each other and really talk about different topics. Every session is different, ran by a different group. My club and LALSA together next month, we're going to run a session where we're going to talk about immigration and colorism. But basically, what you get out of it is you learn a lot more about your classmates, and everybody has a first impression. But the more you learn about your fellow classmates, and the more you talk about it, and the more that you learned in class kind of bleeds into what is being discussed. I think it paints a more complete picture about everything. So although I didn't intentionally go, now when I go, it's very intentional and it's great.
I always enjoy seeing that you stayed despite us kind of coming into the space and you found interest in what we were talking about and joined in. So I appreciate that, Kelvin. Gabby, so you're a 3L and next month you'll be graduating. Next month. That would be really early. Next semester, you'll be graduating and moving on along with your colleagues. Tell us, what's your next steps after graduation, and how do you feel like the law school prepared you for that?
Yeah, I think my heart stopped a little bit when you said next month. It still hasn't hit me yet, all of it. But yeah, so I will be moving to Brooklyn. I will be at the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office next year, or for the next 3 years. And as I mentioned earlier, I came to law school with an interest in criminal law, but to be completely honest, I thought I was going to be on the defense side throughout the entire time that I was a law student, and even before then. I think the law school helped me I came into law school with that in mind, but I also knew that I wanted to keep an open mind, because with a law degree, there's just so many different doors that can open up for you that you don't know about. And so I think being in an environment that provides you different opportunities, different resources, different types of people to talk to, really helped me keep that open mind. And this opportunity presented itself in a very, I think, special way for me. So even in that process of going through the interview rounds with the DA's office, I was able to connect with different professors, because I went to our CSO office and they connected me with a professor that could help me prep for for an interview at the DA's office, because it's a different type of interview process that I hadn't gone through before. But all that to say, I think that the support that I had from professors that I didn't even know before a couple weeks ago, or maybe 2 months ago, I guess, was really helpful. And I think just having different perspectives from different people, from different professors, different alumni, was really helpful in my decision process.
Share with us the project that you're taking the lead on for the Dive-In Committee and its impact that you're hoping for within the community.
Yeah. So back in 2018, BALSA, the Black Law Student Association, shared a documentary essentially going through race relations in the Kline community as well as the legal profession. And like, as we all know, since 2018, like a lot has happened in this sort of conversation. So the goal now in the Dive-In is trying to create a documentary essentially to show like how far the community has come, or maybe not how far we've moved as well, just to see what has actually occurred in terms of the law schools have new people, some of the faculty stayed, new faculty has come in, new staff has come in, but just trying to see sort of what the overall feel or perspective is of the law school. I think, me personally, the impact really that I would like to see is to, as we've all said on this call today, like Drexel, like Kline, it's very much a diverse space, and we have like diverse, and not in terms of like what we look like, but also in our thinking, and just being able to show people that sometimes might be maybe step to the side because they feel like they might be a minority in their thought process and not actually sure how they feel maybe in class, but just seeing that they might be other like-minded students that you haven't been able to speak to, so you don't feel sort of alone. That's what I would really like to see come out of this video. But yeah, it's going to be a documentary where we're interviewing faculty, students, and staff, and just getting a whole holistic story, I guess, on the race relations in the Kline community.
Thanks, Olade. And then finally, for all of you, how has being on the Dive-In Committee helped shape how you navigate our community, or even, the legal profession?
I'd say one thing that it's really helped is it's very easy to like be a law student and just kind of feel like I can't really say much because I'm new to this. I don't really have any power, and what are sort of my outlets. But having Dive-In as like a committee where there are faculty and staff that I can easily just go to, and I am sure that once whatever issue has been relayed to them, it's gonna like go up the ladder and actually be addressed. There have been multiple different scenarios that I've brought up and I've really seen addressed within hours. So I'm really thankful to Dive-In for that and allowing me even to also share issues that my classmates might feel more comfortable coming to me about, and me just relaying it over to the committee.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a unique opportunity to be in a room where we're all on the same committee, but some of us are professors and some of us are students. And it kind of feels like the playing field gets leveled out a little bit because we're all on the same committee and we're all there for the same purpose. So it kind of removes the power dynamic a little bit, and it allows to have a little bit more honest conversation that's not like tiptoeing around the issues, because we're there to identify the issues and also to celebrate the things that we're doing well. So I think that I really enjoy that aspect of being on the committee.
Yeah, I think just it's along the same sentiments of that our voice, my voice matters institutionally. And I think that that's, even though that makes sense, like logically, it's not always seen. So I think it's a great opportunity to kind of share your voice, share your opinions, but also I think it's really important to listen and hearing the opinions of faculty and staff, but also my classmates, I think is really great.
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone has said. I guess the only other thing that I'll add is that we've all already talked on like community, but I think Dive-In being a part of this committee and being able to plan like different types of events that really bring everyone together. Something that I'm thinking of right now is our like the dive and walks that we have, like where on Wednesdays we try to get, you know, people to just go out on a walk for 30 minutes to get some fresh air, because it's really easy to just kind of stay in a building in a library all day because of how much you have going on. But it's also really important to get that fresh air and some movement. And then also like the dive-in brunches, like during, like, I believe it's like the last week of classes where we have, we started doing a dive-in brunch where we provide food for the whole like law school, and it's brunch style, so everyone loves brunch and it's really fun. And I think it was one of the first times I think I saw people kind of come together in the law school without it being like some sort of formal academic event, just kind of enjoying brunch all together, which was really fun.
Completely agree with all the sentiments already being shared. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the diving community because sometimes I feel like I want to make a difference, but I don't know how. But being a part of the committee, I can see where I can contribute, and there is literally direct tasks given to me. Like, Liv, can you help Olade with these questions for the upcoming documentary? And I can feel like that I'm helping to achieve something greater than myself and outside of schoolwork.
I'm also going to agree with everything that everyone said. But I'd also like to add, I think it's also interesting because you got professors and administrators in there. I think we get kind of like, tunnel vision in our role as a student that we kind of forget that, no, like our professors are people, the administrators are people. Like sometimes there's stuff they can and can't do, and they also get frustrated about it. So I think you get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, and I think that's really, I guess it's comforting to see just, the staff and faculty, be people, because that's what we all are. We're all just people,
I have one last thing, because you asked to tie it kind of to the legal profession, and it just made me realize that in having a more comfortable setting with staff and also professors, it's made me be less afraid of managing attorneys and all of my bosses, basically, in the notion that my voice matters. I said that before, but still, and also that they're people and that you shouldn't be afraid to show up as yourself.
That's a great point. That is a great point. And for me, being the chair of the diving committee and seeing where we've come from, I've been at the institution for quite some time, since before we didn't have a committee, since before we didn't have someone in my role. And to see where we are now, where we are all in a space together, trying to be seen, wanting to be heard, and it's happening. I think, especially as a person of color, it is very important to me to feel like I have a sense of belonging in the community, despite the amount of times that I've been there, despite, who else is around me in their roles, that I am Danielle and I can show up as Danielle. And just to kind of tap into what Cody said, that I'm a little different. And that's because there are no pretenses with me. You are going to get Danielle today. You're going to get Danielle tomorrow. And that's important to me because I want to exemplify just being genuinely you, so that you can put forth your best efforts and be recognized for that. So now we'd like to open up the opportunity for you all on the call, our audience members, to ask any questions you might have of our students, of me, and even of our admissions representatives that are on the call. Excuse me. So, are there any questions that we can tackle for you today? Now, I see that Dana has their hand raised, but I don't see that you have a microphone accessible. Is it possible to type your question in the Q&A or the chat, Dana? Okay, excellent. So Dana's gonna, and if anyone else has a question that you might have, please also share it in the chat so that we can answer while we're on.
Great. And Danielle, I actually have a couple of questions that came in privately as well.
Excellent. Okay, so while Dana's typing out their question, Ina, can you just let us know what questions might be for us in the queue?
Yeah, absolutely. So I received a question. Can you tell me more about anti-racism conversations hosted in partnership with the SBA? So if one of the students, if Kelvin, if you'd like to talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah. So we get a schedule of when they're going to happen over the semester. I think it varies anywhere from Monday to Wednesday, usually around lunch. Sometimes there's snacks, but there's usually reading, some reading, some material, some podcasts, some videos, something to kind of orient you. And then the way it kind of works is every table, you kind of talk to your table after the people introducing the event, say a little bit about it, and then I think like maybe a half hour or so of your table just kind of speaking to each other, getting each other's take on whatever's being discussed. And then at the end, Dean Boardley brings us all in, and then we just kind of talk about it as a giant group.
Great.
And that was established in after the summer of 2020. The Student Bar Association came to me in hopes to really gather the community together and have the hard conversations about what was happening. And so we came up with the idea to be able to bring the community together and have the conversations about what the students had at the top of their mind and the different student groups. And now it's a permanent fixture in our community that happens every or twice a month at least. And each semester, different student groups are able to co-host together. So this semester, especially, we've started having at least two student organizations co-host the event so that we can get perspectives of different student groups based on the particular topic that's chosen. And it's a really nice way to be able to be seen as, something that we're very adamant about at Drexel Kline, and to be heard in a way, and then to look across the table at the human across from you and to see what their experience is and how their ideas led them to who and how they are based on the topic we're expressing for the day.
Great. And Dana was actually able to pose her question. So she wrote in the Q&A, what advice would you give a first generation law student? In addition, can someone please describe the process of law internship? So.
I think that most of us, I think all of us are first generation law students. So I would say it's different than your peers that are not first generation law students, but you definitely won't be the only one that isn't a first generation law student. I think especially at Drexel, I think there's more first generation law students than maybe some other places. But I think that that's where the aspect of building community at school and utilizing the resources really comes in. Just because there are things you're not going to know because no one's told you before. But if you have a good community of 2Ls and 3Ls and CSO and Dean Boardley and professors that care about your success, the transition's a little bit easier because they give you the information before you ask for it. And I think that that's really, really helpful. And then the process for law internships is going to depend kind of on what kinds of internships you want to do. But I went the big law route. So the process for that was in 1L, I did PDLG. And they placed me at a big law firm. And then I went through the OCI process, which if you've been on Reddit, like looking up stuff about law school, it's all people talk about. But it's just basically like a really high pressure, like intense environment where you're sending tons of applications, getting tons of rejections, and getting some positive feedback. So it's something that is helpful to get, have your community built around you. But I'll let someone else speak to any other type of internship experiences that they've had.
I was in a program similar to Cody and Olivia's PDLG. I was in ACC, which is the American Corporate Council, I believe. But that was kind of similar to Cody and Olivia, where you essentially just send in an application, you schedule interviews, and then they place you with, specifically for ACC, it was an in-house corporation, or in-house position. So that's kind of how that process went. And then my second summer, I did a fellowship, but it was quite similar in terms of applying and then having an interview, and then happens.
Yeah, and just generally because I'm doing my work study with CSO and all of the 1Ls are really hyping up for their first set of grades. Most people apply to their internships after the fall of 1L when you get your first set of grades. And there's a few different options for what you want to do for the summer, like Cody said, including working for the government. Like you could work for the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission. It might be EEOC now that I think about it. That's embarrassing, but here I am, so it's fine. You can work for a judge, you can work for a nonprofit, you can work for a law firm, you can work in-house. It's more likely to work for the government, a judge, or a nonprofit during your 1L summer. And the most people who receive paid 1L positions are because either they or their family know someone in a law firm, or you participate in a diversity program like PDLG or ACC. I hope that was helpful.
I think an advice I'll give to like a first gen, it's very easy to try to act like you belong and not ask questions, so you don't sound or look dumb. But a big thing that I failed to do like very early on was like to ask questions, and like it's okay not to know because you don't know. So like don't be afraid to ask questions, because as soon as I learned like I don't care what other people think, like I'm just gonna ask whatever I need to ask, life changed. So that's my advice to first gen students.
As a pre-law student in whatever city you're at, if you look at different bar associations, I'm always going to plug these in. You can join as a pre-law student, and it's free. And similar to what Olade just said, like ask questions, connect with attorneys, like starting like now, like in your application process, because you'll learn a lot of the things if you're meeting and connecting with people even before you get to law school.
I just wanted to add on to that point, like when I was saying that there's information you won't have because no one's told you, that is a great way to like solve that problem, is to, instead of using your family's connections or using like family that have gone through the process before, starting to build your network beforehand, it kind of serves the same purpose, because people are overwhelmingly interested in helping you. People overwhelmingly want to see you succeed. So don't feel embarrassed about asking those questions.
Also, PDLG, in terms of like advice to a first gen law student in regards to like class, PDLG does a boot camp the week before school, and that was really helpful in seeing different note-taking styles, different outlining styles. So I would say also, as soon as the semester starts, getting outlines and just getting help and aid from people who have been there, done that, because at the end of the day, like you're not here to reinvent the wheel, you're just here to get the degree. So
great. So we have one more private question that came through the chat. And this one is actually for Dean Boardley. So what is the Scheller Diversity Pipeline Program, and when does this take place, and how can I apply?
Yes, it's my baby. So the Scheller Diversity Pipeline Program was launched in 2019, and it's a 3-week immersion program that is hybrid. So most of the work is done online. There are in-person opportunities for you to come and see the law school, but also we take trips to law firms, judges' quarters, fun events as well. So if you're local to the area or just want to, come and visit, we definitely help to make those arrangements to get you to us. But during the 3 weeks, the course work that is offered to you is really to allow you the opportunity to feel what it might be like to be a 1L student. So you get a textbook in the mail so that you can be prepared for class. You do readings. There's hypos with one of our professors who's been teaching Law 101 is what I call the course for the past couple of years with us. And it really gives you the comfort and confidence that I think is helpful for you once you are sitting in your 1L class, because you will be, if this is your goal, I believe in you and you will make it to that 1L seat. So when you sit down and you're cold called, there'll be a level of comfort. When you are asked to read, several pages of text, you'll be prepared because you've already learned how to brief a case. When you're sitting down and having these conversations about IRAC and CREAC, you'll know what that means because you've heard it before. And for a number of students, especially first generation students who don't have family members to kind of guide them through that process in advance, this program is meant to help you understand what the language that is being shared, through students who already know, or once you sit and you listen to upper level students talk about their classes, you'll have a sense of what's going on. In addition to the coursework, Law 101, there's also opportunities to hear from some of our leading scholars through faculty. So year after year, Professor Wendy Green, who her scholarship is what helped develop the Crown Act. She does a presentation. Our phenomenal professor, Professor Lopez, talks about the community lawyering clinic and sometimes about international law and how, the impacts of what happens within our smaller communities, but also globally. We also hear from Dr. Donald Tibbs, who usually gives us a great breakdown of criminal law. And we also offer LSAT tutoring. So during the 3 weeks that you're with us, you get LSAT tutoring, but because 3 weeks just is not enough for LSAT tutoring, you get an additional 5 weeks in the evening. So I didn't mention, I'm sorry, the program runs 3 weeks in the summer, but it runs 9 to noon, Monday through Friday. And then when the program has concluded, the LSAT tutoring then shifts to the evenings, usually from, I think it's 7 to 8:30 in the evening, 2 nights a week, so that you can continue that forward with the cohort that you were with in the program. So it's still people you're familiar with. It's only those people, so you get that direct, personalized tutoring, and you can ask the questions because you're comfortable again. And then we cover other things as in support to your taking the LSAT and hoping that our support helps you to achieve that goal number, whatever that might be for you. All of it is free to you. There is nothing that I ask of you but your attention and your focus and your dedication during the 3 weeks. The application opens April 1st of each year. And then I try to get back to everyone by at least May 1st or around then, or maybe the end of May, I think. One of those, May. I try to get back to everyone with a decision. Each year, we've brought in a number of about 30 to 35 participants. Our very first, so I said it launched in 2019. One of our dive-in scholars is what I call you all when you are in that program, dive-in scholars, who was with us in that first year. She attended Drexel. She graduated just this past May, and she just passed the New York bar. So we are very excited to have those type of success stories, whether it happens at Drexel or happens elsewhere. I think it's important to create opportunity for people from marginalized communities to be able to fulfill their dreams, and we're hopeful that this program has a hand in that. And I love to be a witness on the journey of your success. So as you can see, very excited about the program, and I'm excited about the success that comes out of it. Well, if you have any questions that you weren't able to get in today, feel free to reach out to us. Hopefully you had an opportunity to scan the QR codes, for the dive-in fellows to link up with them on LinkedIn, but you can also find me on LinkedIn or our website. I am on both the admissions page, and also if you're searching diversity and inclusion on our website, you can find me in both places. Feel free to reach out. We're happy to chat further, but we thank you so much for your time and attention today. It's a Friday afternoon. You didn't have to join us, but we're so glad you did. And we hope that you have a fantastic remainder of the day. Take care, everyone.